Hello, I'm Verity.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Asher.
And I'm Ben. And welcome to episode 11 of the What the Friday podcast.
We've got a special episode today, so we are going to dive straight in.
Winter can be tough, especially when it comes to staying healthy and knowing what to do if you get sick and need medical help.
For this special episode, we've teamed up with the NHS West Yorkshire Integrated Care Board, the Calderdale Cares Partnership and CVAC to find out more about what we can do to keep each other safe this winter.
We've invited two health experts to come and talk to us to ensure that we all choose well this winter.
Hi, I'm Asher. With winter coming in fast, emergency departments and GP surgeries are under huge pressure, often with long wait times that make it tough for everyone to get the care they need. In December and January, there is a significant surge in demand. This episode is all about how we can make a difference in our health systems by knowing when not to go to any other GP and what to do instead. Today we'll look at how you choose well, and we'll cover how to know whether you need emergency care, tips on symptom management at home, and ways to get support for things like mental health, all while easing pressure on the NHS and helping us all to choose well. To find out more, we've spoken to Amanda, who is a pharmacy manager in Halifax. Hi Amanda, thanks for talking to us today. Why is it important to avoid A&E or GP visits unless absolutely necessary during winter?
Well, winter is a really high demand time for health services. They're under a lot of pressure, and results from a recent survey showed that about 16% of all emergency department visits were for minor health concerns. So that's things that could have been seen elsewhere, and that's about 70 attendances per day. So A&E should really just be for emergencies. By managing minor health issues yourself or with a pharmacist advice, you can help the NHS prioritise the people who really need those appointments.
What are some options for help if I feel unwell but it's not an emergency then?
There's lots of different options if you need help, so you can visit 111.nhs.uk to check your symptoms and get urgent medical help 24 hours a day. You can also call 111 if you haven't got access to the internet. So many health issues can be managed at home by self-care or by consulting a pharmacist. You can call into a pharmacist without an appointment and speak to them and ask them for advice. They're open long hours, so there's usually always someone available to help.
So if I do feel ill at home, what basic supplies should I have to prevent unnecessary doctor visits?
Well, it's a good question, because if you do feel ill, you probably won't want to go out to the doctors or to the pharmacy to get some help. So it's a good idea to have a well-stocked medical supply cupboard or drawer. So you could include a thermometer, painkillers, certain medications like, well, definitely regular medication. You want to make sure you've got plenty of that in stock. And then things like plasters, antiseptic cream. Having these things on hand can help you sort of manage minor issues without needing to go out of the house. So there's a great link on the internet as well, which I'll share with you, which gives you a good list of things that are really useful to keep in.
Yeah, thank you.
We got quite a lot of visits from people with colds and flu, and to be honest, although there's a lot of cough remedies available, they don't tend to help that much. They'll just relieve the symptoms for a short time, and they are quite expensive. So if you're on a budget, it's probably best just to make yourself a warm drink with honey and lemon, and that'll help soothe the symptoms. You can take paracetamol if you've got any pain or temperature, so that's a really good tablet to keep in stock. And it's a good idea also to keep things like rehydration sachets in case you get sickness and diarrhoea, because you don't want to be going out of the house if you've got that. So regular hand washing is a good tip as well. I'll just add that on, because if you do get sickness and diarrhoea, regular hand washing with the hot soapy water is the best thing to do to stop passing it on to other people. The hand gels don't tend to work for that virus. So.
Yeah. Would you say there's a difference between branded and unbranded paracetamol?
So no, if you buy the branded product, you're basically paying for the advertising. So yeah, get the generic one. Generic just means the actual drug name, the active ingredient that's in there. So it's the same as having Heinz baked beans or Tesco's baked beans. The Tesco's ones are the generic version, if you like. They're just the same, usually. Yeah. You can ask your pharmacist if you're not sure.
Yeah. What if someone needs a contraceptive pill? Can you get this without seeing a GP?
You can now. There's actually a new service that started in a lot of pharmacies now, an NHS service where they can provide the contraceptive pill for people. If you're already on a contraceptive pill, they can give you more supplies of it when you need them, and they can also start that medication for you if you go in and have a consultation with the pharmacist. Some pharmacies do actually sell a progesterone only pill, so that is also available to buy if you wanted to do that. You can also get the emergency contraception from a pharmacy for free in some cases if they're providing that service, or you can buy it if you're 16 or over from most pharmacies. It's worth pointing out that the contraception service is actually confidential. If you don't want us to pass that detail on to your GP, then we won't. We'll keep it private. Most pharmacies also offer chlamydia screening and treatment, advice and help on how to stop smoking, and substance misuse services. There's also needle and syringe exchange schemes from some pharmacies. The best thing to do is check on NHS website for the pharmacies near you, and it will give you a list of all the different services that they offer.
That's really helpful, thank you. How can I tell if my symptoms are serious enough to actually need a doctor?
So it's generally things to look out for would be signs like difficulty breathing, chest pain, high fever that doesn't go away, anything that's lasted a long time and it's not improving, and things that are different for you, like if you've developed any lumps and bumps in places that you didn't have before, or any changes in bowel habits and things like that. NHS 111 can advise on what symptoms require urgent care and which can be managed at home. You can also ask in your pharmacy.
What's the difference between cold, flu and COVID symptoms?
While they overlap, there are some key differences, which include fever and body aches being more severe with flu. While COVID, you might get more of a loss of taste or smell as well. Colds are usually milder, less likely to have a fever with those, but you're more likely to have a cough and be sneezing. If you're not sure, you can always get a test from the pharmacy, which will help you to check if you do have COVID or not. While the symptoms might be different, the treatments are actually quite similar, so you really need to rest and drink plenty of fluids. If you've got a temperature, paracetamol's a really useful tablet to take, and it can help bring that temperature down. These conditions are viral and symptoms can last for 2 to 3 weeks, but they will get better on their own.
So would I have to use antibiotics to treat this?
So you wouldn't really need an antibiotic to treat these because they are viruses, so the antibiotics won't work. Antibiotics are only for bacterial infections, and it's really important that we only use them when necessary. It's important that if you do get antibiotics for a bacterial infection, you don't share them with anyone else, and you make sure you finish the course so that the infection is completely killed off. And that way we can prevent antibiotic resistance developing.
Finally, when is it okay to just rest and recover? And when should I seek advice?
So if you've got mild symptoms like a runny nose or a mild cough, they're generally okay to manage at home with rest. If your symptoms persist or they get worse after a few days, especially if you've got underlying health conditions, then you might need to seek further help. So like I said before, you can expect cold and flu symptoms to last 2 to 3 weeks. Usually after the infection starts, the first week you'll feel particularly ill, and then once your body starts to fight off the infection, you'll gradually improve. But it can sometimes last up to 3 weeks before you get rid of a cough. If you've got any problems with breathing or a severe illness, then you should seek further help. If you're not sure, you can look on the NHS website or call 111. If you feel well enough, you can go to your local pharmacy and ask them for advice.
Thank you so much for your time today and helping people to choose well this winter.
Thanks, Asher. People with mental health difficulties can be 3 times more likely to use A&E services than those that don't. Therefore, the better you can manage your mental health during the winter months, the less chance you will need to access medical support and visit a GP or A&E department. Here to tell us how we can do that is India, who is a psychological wellbeing practitioner at Vita Health. Hi.
Hi Brandon, thank you for having me on.
So why do you think A&E and GP see an increase in the number of mental health cases during the winter months?
So obviously I can't tell you for definite why that is. We tend to feel worse during the winter months with our low mood and our anxieties and stuff like that. So it can lead to more people feeling as though they're in crisis and need that immediate support. So for a lot of people it is things like, I don't know where to go, I don't know who to turn to, but everyone knows that the GP and A&E is there, so they can go to those for their mental health if they need that sort of immediate support. And then alongside with that, what can sometimes happen is obviously in winter, like we've said, the weather's worse, it's colder, people are prone to getting more colds, more flus, stuff like that, genuinely just not feeling as physically fit as what they normally do. But sometimes that combined with anxiety, it can perpetuate them physical symptoms. Anxiety and physical symptoms can go hand in hand a lot of the time. So if we're feeling ill, we can worry around feeling ill, and then worries can sometimes for some people spiral into thinking that they're maybe more ill than they actually are because the anxiety anxiety's taken over, and the way that I like to describe it is like a little imposter's gone into their head, and it's the little anxiety imposter, and that's telling them things potentially about their health that isn't true, which might lead them to panic and may cause them to feel as though they need to go to A&E or to the GP to get it checked out. What we'd advise with that is, could you ring 111 first? Do a little pre-screening with them just to see what they think around your physical health symptoms, where they think might be best. And I know for a lot of people that can give them that peace of mind, because the people who are on 111 are medically trained as well, so they're giving you a medical opinion of where they think you should go, or go and see a pharmacist or something. If it is a cold, they can give you stuff like that. If you've done that and then you're still feeling worried afterwards, it could be a case that maybe the anxiety is the underlying cause, and we'll talk about how we can treat that anxiety and make that a little bit better as well, so hopefully it stops having such an impact on our physical health.
So we talked about support for mental health, but what if you're feeling down over the winter months?
Yeah, so like I said, there is professionals and there is services out there that are available for you that kind of want to help make you better with your mental health. You've got things like the crisis team, Samaritans, so they're both sort of phone services that you can ring up. That's if you're not already in therapy or you've not already got any involvement with any mental health services. You can give them a ring and someone on the phone will be there to listen to your problems, take the time to understand what's been going on for you, and then really kind of give you some help, even if it's just that you need someone to talk to. That option's there. Obviously, if it is a more of a long-term thing and it's not just that immediate support or someone that you need to chat to, you can refer yourself into some therapy services. And one of those services is the services that I work for, which is called the NHS Talking Therapies. What we do within NHS Talking Therapies is we're like a self-referral service where if you're not feeling 100% and you do feel as though it's ready for you to have some therapy and you kind of want to change how you've been feeling, you can refer yourself in, you can have an assessment with us within our service, and then what we're sort of able to do is go, okay, this is what you're suffering with at the moment, and together working with you and with us, we'll work out the best treatment plan and the best course of action to make sure that we're really there for you and going to help to solve their mental health problems, if that is something that people want to do. I obviously don't know where you're listening from, so I don't know which area you're living in, but if you just search in NHS Talking Therapies service near me, it'll bring up the service that's in your local area, and then you'll be able to self-refer and start the process off that way.
So what if you're looking for 24/7 support?
So our service unfortunately only runs from 9 till 5, so we don't really have anything during the evenings, and we're not a crisis support service, so that's obviously one thing to mention. If you do refer into the NHS Talking Therapies, we can't help with immediate crisis, like that's not what our number's there for, but there is dedicated teams that are there for that. So we've got the crisis team, and we've got the Samaritans, and we've got a lovely text service called Shout. The crisis team's more so if you feel you're in that state of distress and you're really struggling, you need that immediate mental health support. The Samaritans are quite good for just more of a general chat. If you're struggling but it's not in that crisis state, but you do still need someone to call to, you can give the Samaritans a ring, and they're really good just to have a bit of a conversation, a bit of a chat with. So that'd be good if you've got yourself quite worked up or you're feeling a little bit lonely, you can give them a call. Another thing is, I don't know about you, but I sometimes don't like picking up the phone and ringing people. That can feel quite daunting, especially if we're feeling quite stressed and anxious already. So there's a really good service called Shout, which is a text service, and you can operate using Shout. If you Google Shout, or you can text the word Shout in capital letters to 8528, and then you can have a dedicated person who does a text stream with you, so you don't have to pick up the phone and you can get that support through text, which I know for a lot of younger people is a bit more beneficial and easier for them to access. So all three of those that I just mentioned, the crisis team, the Samaritans and the Shout service, they all operate 24/7. So whether it's 3 p.m. in the middle of the working day or it's 2 a.m. in the morning, they're there to help you and support you. If you are already in therapy, the NHS Talking Therapy services are still there for you. Obviously, we work on more of a 9 till 5 basis for referrals and assessments and stuff like that. So that's also there for you. And then obviously, one thing is just Google mental health support near me, and there'll be loads of different clubs and stuff that you might not even realise are up and running, and mental health support clubs such as like Andy Mann's Club and stuff like that. What I would say is it isn't embarrassing to give these numbers a ring, and I know sometimes it can feel really difficult to reach out and get that support, but if you really feel like you're struggling, please don't do that in silence. These services are here to support you, and if that's a bit of a struggle and you don't think you can do that, have a think. Have I got friends? Have I got family members? Is there somebody out there? And I think just being able to go, look, I need someone to talk to, I need some support here, and just making sure that you're going and getting that, whether it be from a mental health professional or a family member or someone like that. Sometimes people may be more inclined to go to A&E because they think they're going to get seen faster. They think it's going to mean that they get faster, quicker support. However, these A&Es use the crisis service which you would ring yourself. So it cuts out that step for you. It prevents you from sitting in the long waits at A&E, being around other people that could make you feel worse, and avoids that long wait where you can just get in contact with the crisis team yourself, and they'll offer you the same support that they would offer you if they saw you in A&E as well. But obviously a bit of a disclaimer, if you are really struggling and in that intense crisis where you don't know where to turn to, and potentially you don't feel as though you can pick up the phone, but you could go to A&E, and if you really need that immediate support, then please do go to A&E and seek that immediate support. We're not saying don't use that service, we're just saying there is other steps and ways to manage your mental health before that stage, but obviously making sure you're keeping yourself safe, and if you don't feel as though you can keep yourself safe, go into A&E or ringing 999.
What if I have a therapist but they're not available during the holidays?
Yeah, so this can be common. Unfortunately, we do need annual leave as well for us to have that restorative space. So there may be a couple of weeks where there might be these gaps in treatment. But what the therapist should always do before that is give you management plans, things to try over those 2 weeks, and they will also remind you of the numbers. And I think this is really important within them 2 weeks or whenever, in them gaps in therapy, is if you are having a particularly bad day, you should already have some skills. So try the coping skills and strategies that you've been given in therapy, and if they're not working, then reaching out to them services, like I said before, like Shout, like Samaritans, like the crisis team, if you need that additional bit of support. But like I said, most therapists should give you stuff to do in that interim period. And with the advice that I give before, if you're having a particularly bad day or whatever in between therapy or in these breaks, just reminding yourself that it's okay. Every day is not going to be an 100% day, and not being too harsh on yourself. If you're having a day when you're feeling a bit more down, feeling a bit more anxious, going, okay, this is all right. Trying not to self-blame, and trying not to kind of beat yourself up about it, and just giving yourself that space to go, no, this is okay, it's just a bad day, there's going to be better days. And I think reminding yourself of that, and trying not to get too down if you are to have these days in between therapy when you're waiting in them periods.
What should I do if I'm feeling anxious about the new year and the pressure it brings?
Yeah, New Year is a horrible time, and I think it's because everyone feels like they've got to completely change their life around and achieve millions of things, and they've got to have a better year next year, and it adds this sort of added pressure to us. But if we take away the years and the months, the day that the new year lands on, it's just another day of the week. It may be a different date on a calendar, but it's just another week. And I think seeing it, instead of going, oh, it's a whole new year, I've got to change all of these big things, just going, no, it's just another week, and trying not to put loads of pressure on yourself. And people may want to change things in the new year, and it is a good time to look at some goals if there is things that you want to change, but making sure that they're really realistic and achievable for you. So having a look at the sort of things that you want to achieve, and then going, hang on a minute, is this a realistic goal? Is this something that I'm going to be able to do? Or is it going to put that pressure on myself and make me feel worse? Just be kind to yourself. You don't need to set goals for the new year. You don't need to change things. And around the winter months, speaking around loneliness, often kind of around these months, people reflect on family and who they've got around them, and it can lead to them feeling a little bit more lonely and a little bit more isolated. So again, to kind of tackle that isolation is sort of, could you join a club? Could you join something? Have you got friends? Have you got people around you who you can go and see? Is there anything online, any online chats that you can join? And then just having a Google, and something that's nice is you can put in support groups near me and see, okay, is there any peer support groups around that I can go and join where I've got that opportunity to speak to people as well. And then just obviously to finish off, I just want to reiterate the fact that because of the bad weather and because of the winter months, it is normal for us to feel more down, and it is normal for us to feel a little bit more stressed. So not being harsh on yourself and going, okay, this is normal, but I'm going to do my best to tackle it. And if I can't, knowing that you've got these services, you've got these steps that you can take to improve it, and just saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to monitor it, I've got that plan. It's okay not to feel 100% every single day, and it is really, really normal to feel worse and to feel lower in the winter months because the weather has such a big impact on our mood. So just remembering that and trying not to beat yourself up about it too much if you are struggling.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm sure that advice will help our listeners to choose well this winter by looking after their mental health. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
So there we have it.
Hopefully from listening to this podcast you will have a better idea of which option to choose this winter.
Please share the link on your socials or tell your friends and family, as we'd like as many people as possible to be informed and able to choose well this winter.
And remember, making the right decision could help to save someone else's life.
On that serious note, I'd like to thank everyone that's taken part in this podcast.
For C&K for hosting us and letting us use their facilities, and can we also thank Youth Social for pulling everything together.
And finally, if you are a company or organisation and would like to get involved in the podcast in either providing opportunities for young people you work with or telling people about your beneficial services, please get in touch. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.